Hello! Today I am restarting my independent publisher series. For those of you who have been following this series, you'll know that I have been reading Salt books, but I have kind of gone on a bit of a hiatus with it for the last few months. I haven't had time to read any more of the Salt books because I've been trying to read other books on my shelf, and these are quite new books to my collection as a whole, so I felt a bit bad picking them up. But I have just picked up another one and finished it, and that was The Knife Drawer by Patrika Tarrant. Now again, people who have been here for a while will know that I read Broken Things by Patrika Tarrant last year, also published by Salt. I'll link my full review of that down below. And I absolutely fell in love with it. They're really short, snappy stories, but Patrika Tarrant's got a real way with words. As soon as I finished that, I wanted to pick this up, and my independent publisher series kind of pushed me into doing that, and I have to say it did not disappoint. Now this is going to be a difficult one to talk about because I do not think it's for everyone. It is the strangest book that I have ever read, and on paper it wouldn't be the kind of thing that I'd enjoy at all. It'd be the kind of thing where I would just think, what's the point? That's just odd. But whether it's because I knew Patrika Tarrant's writing from reading Broken Things, and I knew a bit about like the way she uses mental health and stuff in her writing, and sort of uses magical realism as a metaphor for mental health in a lot of ways. For me, this was a lot better than it would have been if I had gone into it not knowing who she was. So I would definitely recommend, if you haven't, to read Broken Things, and if you enjoy that, you will probably enjoy this. So, why is this book so strange? Basically, it's a retelling of Three Blind Mice, but it completely runs with the story, and it follows a mother who we only ever know her as the mother, and it's alternating chapters, and we get perspective from the mother herself, we get perspective from her daughter Marie, and we also get perspective from the house, the mice in the house, and the cutlery in the house. So the whole house that they're living in and their whole world is personified, and normally that would make me kind of roll my eyes. I think it's very hard to pull that kind of thing off, but Patrika Tarrant does it fantastically because she doesn't personify them to the degree of stupidity like the mice. They don't talk, they don't particularly interact in human ways, they are still mice, but they're just given thoughts and feelings, and the house the same, it's given groans and moans and housey things, but in a way that humans can sympathise with and understand. So she doesn't take it to the degree where it's ridiculous, she does it in a really subtle and beautiful way. The main story of this is that we start when the mother has killed her husband and she leaves him in the dining room. The cutlery then eats him. It all goes from there. The predominant sort of plot of the story itself is the fact that there are two twin girls. There is Marie and the childling, which is her twin sister, and the childling kind of becomes the mother's sort of physical form of her guilt for what she did to her husband, and it gets shunned out, and it basically goes from there. I can't really tell you much more than that because it just sounds strange to talk about, but it's so good, and I think the writing is what really carries this for me. And also, you're never quite sure if weird things are happening or if it's part of the mental illness or if they are actually living in this really bizarre alternate reality. It's all kind of left to your imagination, so I imagine this would be good for people who do like completely bizarre fantasy, because you can take it at face value or you can look deeper into it and think about the hidden meanings behind it. So I really liked that aspect. I also loved how many themes this book deals with. So it deals with grief a lot, it deals with repentance a lot, and guilt, and the way that our guilt can eat away at us if we don't face it or deal with it or just try and hide it away somewhere. And it also deals with the way that mothers and the way that mothers behave around their children has an influence on those children. So this is a very closed and claustrophobic novel in a really intentional way. So we literally hardly get any outside perspective. Occasionally we'll have a chapter from the rent man, but he's not the best character anyway, so we don't know whether what he's telling us is true. So it's all kind of half-truths and claustrophobia. I don't actually think there is much, if any, speech in this book. Probably it is a little bit, but it's mainly about what's going on in people's heads and the different sort of realities that they're making out of the same situation. If you want books that are completely logical, then this is not for you, because I mean, they pay their rent but they don't go out to work, and you don't really get an accurate representation of what their life is actually like, because it is so tied up in mental illness and insanity that they have themselves lost sight of what is normal. And so it's definitely not for people who want a book that sort of is clean cut and explains how they get the money for their rent and how they get their food. That's not what this book is about. It's just phenomenal writing, really interesting themes explored in a really fascinating way, and I just adored it. I really did. I don't know whether I would have adored it as much if I hadn't loved Broken Things, but I think Podrika Tyrant has just got such a way with words. That's one thing I often find, is that I don't really like fantasy that's absolutely bizarre and crazy, but I think this goes to show that if you do it with the right intentions and the right language, it can be done so well. And I think as well it helps to have a deeper meaning to what you are saying, so it's not just crazy for the sake of it. There is a lot of meaning in this book. The themes run so deep, and I'm sure there is probably a whole load of stuff that I missed that was in here. As I say, it's kind of one of those books that you can take what you want from it. That is what I got from it, and I'm quite happy with that. As I say, I'm sceptical to recommend this to everyone, purely because I don't think it's everyone's cup of tea. In fact, I think it's quite a niche book, and that there are probably few people out there who would enjoy this. Although that said, on Goodreads the ratings are all fairly good, although everyone in their reviews did say that they're also sceptical to recommend it because it is an acquired taste for sure. The best indicator is to go and read Broken Things, see how you get on with that, and if you enjoy it, you will definitely like this one. So, those of you who have been following this series will be thinking, well, that's 4 Salt books she's read now, so probably moving on to the next publisher. There is a surprise Salt contender, which I'm not going to reveal. I will tell you about that next time. I'll be reading it soon and reviewing it, and then I will do my complete Salt wrap-up. But I wanted to include this one, which was very kindly sent to me, but we'll talk about that more later because I don't want to spoil anything. Anyway, if you have read this book, let me know down below how you got on with it. It'd be really interesting to see the perspective of someone who didn't like it as much, because I think I can really see why people would despise this book. But I just adored it. Anyway, see you next time. Bye.